Hi, so I was checking out an article today at realtor.com and was talking about affordability of housing and where we're at today. We're hearing it, housing is unaffordable, almost impossible these days, and it is tough with interest rates being as high as they have been in a long time. So today we're going to go into that. Hey, before I do that, I'd like to ask you to subscribe to my channel. If you like what you see, just hit that button and subscribe, share it with friends. I really appreciate it. My name is Scott. Welcome to my channel. So to figure out how affordable buying a home has been in the last 50 years, realtor.com looked at analyzed data that compared apples to apples doing this. They looked back at the monthly existing single family home prices from the National Association of Realtors, weekly mortgage interest rates for 30-year fixed loans from Freddie Mac, and median annual household income from the U.S. Census Bureau. Then they calculated typical mortgage payment of the buyer taking out a loan on the median priced home and what percentage of their household income that would eat up. I wanted to explain all that and show their data that they're using to compare this. And what they have found is they had to go back all the way to 1981 to find housing in the situation that we're in now and how affordable it is, because it is difficult today with interest rates high. And in May of this year, the typical buyer of a home spent about 33% of their household income on housing, about 33%. Back in the early 80s, the typical person spent about 52% of their household income on housing. Just think about that, 52%, a little over half, of course. Furthermore, that percentage doesn't even talk about utilities, property taxes, insurance costs, and this and that and the other. They were going through massive inflation that was much higher than we are now. Our typical interest rate today in December of 2023 is about 7.5%, depending on who you're talking to. And back at that time, their interest rate was 18%. So just absolutely astronomical. So back in the early 80s, by today's standards, housing was cheap. The average home cost back then was $66,125, about 6 times less than the average price today nationwide. However, a typical household back then was bringing in a little over $19,000 a year for the average person in the U.S. Mortgage rates were at 18% at that time, far from the 7 to 8% where we're at now. Today's average family is earning about $73,500 a year nationwide. In May, they were contending with median existing home prices of $410,000, or just a little bit higher than that. And mortgage rates were hovering at the mid 6% range, which have risen quite a bit now to about a point higher. Back in the 80s, when folks were getting into houses, they were using different techniques that I've discussed in some of my other videos about buy downs and paying for points and different ways to get into those rates a little bit lower. But what they eventually did in the mid to later 80s was refinance those loans, which is a lot of what you'll hear out there today as people are telling you, hey, go back, refinance, get in, refinance later. There's a lot going around on the internet today talking about the Federal Reserve lowering interest rates next year 6 times. I would not consider that gospel. I don't believe they said they're going to lower it 6 times. And no matter what they say anyway, they end up doing the opposite. They will react to what the market does and what they think is best. And they don't always make the right decisions. Look, it's difficult. They're in a difficult position, but they don't always make the right decisions to do the right thing, to predict what's going to happen next. So I would not just sit on my hands and wait for the interest rates to be lowered 6 times next year. That seems like a stretch. I hope it happens, but it seems like that's going to be a stretch. So as of today, in early December, prices are coming down in Austin, Texas. Back in March of 2022, mortgage rates had climbed to about 4%, and that's when a lot of folks were starting to get priced out of the market and starting to feel the effect of the higher interest rates. Now we're up around double that or a little bit lower, and here we are with a market that seems to be frozen still. I know this is a lot to take in, but I did want to cover a little bit of history and where we're at and how the past always seemed rosier because homes were $66,000. It seems like that would have been a much nicer time where everything was easy. Believe me, I was alive back then, and it wasn't just a rosy road. It seemed to be very difficult for my parents, and we were going through a lot, and it did captivate the news constantly. If you have questions about this, I'd love to answer those. My number is 512-660-3343. Please make comments below. I'd love to get into a conversation with you and talk about affordability. And I want to thank you so much for watching my channel. Have a great day.